Hello, everyone. I'm Stephanie, the Education and Events Coordinator with SUMA, and I hope that you've all been staying warm these last few weeks and you all had the holiday that you were hoping for. Thank you for joining us today for SUMA's first webinar of 2022, Strengthening Municipal Government's Targeted Sector Support at Work. The Targeted Sector Support, or TSS Initiative, provides cost-shared grants to municipalities partnering to strengthen their core municipal responsibilities through projects focused on regional cooperation, capacity building, and good governance. Today, we are joined by Patrick Chastel from the Ministry of Government Relations, Paul Ladusar and Heather Vandera from SUMA, and Valerie Fendelet from the RM of Great Bend. Patrick will be sharing information about the TSS initiative and how to apply. You will have the opportunity to meet Paul, your new contact for all of your TSS needs, and we will hear from Valerie about the RM of Great Bend's experience applying for the initiative and receiving funding for their project. Thank you all for sharing your knowledge with us today. Be sure to keep an eye out on the municipal update and member emails for future webinar opportunities. Our next webinar will be on governance and leadership on Tuesday, January 25th at 10 o'clock a.m. A link to a recording of today's webinar will be sent out to all registrants in the next few days, and a link to register for the next webinar will be included in that email. As you know, SUMA uses Zoom. All of the icons should be along the bottom of your screen. Audio settings are at the bottom left of your screen. If you're having any problems with audio on your computer, you can use this setting to switch to phone audio by clicking the small arrow next to the image of the microphone. Once the presenters have all finished their presentations, there will be an opportunity for questions. Please use the Q&A feature to ask questions that you have. And please take a look at the other submitted questions and click the thumbs up feature to upvote the questions that you would like to see answered. Using the Q&A feature, you will also have the option to send in your question anonymously. Please do not use the chat pod to submit questions. Only questions submitted in the Q&A feature will be addressed. I would like to thank our webinar platform sponsor, SUMAsure. SUMAsure is your trusted insurance partner, providing the best property and liability coverage to Saskatchewan municipalities. Thanks to SUMAsure's sponsorship, all SUMA webinars are now free to all members. Please remember to enter any questions that you have into our Q&A feature, and we will ask as many questions as we can after all of the presentations. Now that we have all the housekeeping out of the way, I'd like to pass it over to Patrick Chastel from the Ministry of Government Relations to get us started.
Thank you, Stephanie, and good morning, everyone. Stephanie, can I get a thumbs up from you that you can hear me properly? All right, that's good. Thank you very much. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this webinar today. I'll be going through this PowerPoint presentation, and of course, the opportunity for questions will follow afterwards, so please jot them down throughout the session here. So, Targeted Sector Support Initiative. So, like Stephanie said, my name is Patrick Chastel with the Ministry of Government Relations, and I'm doing this presentation on behalf of the TSS Steering Committee. I've been coordinating this initiative since its inception by about the early 2020 is when this all started, and I've been coordinating since then. I'd like to share this information with you. So what is the TSS initiative? TSS is a cost-shared municipal grant program. TSS funds are derived from municipal revenue sharing to the sum of $1.5 million annually. The objectives of TSS are to help municipalities and their community partners strengthen their core governance and administration responsibilities. So essentially, we're looking to promote regional cooperation, good governance, and capacity building. The TSS Steering Committee is composed of SUMA, SARM, New North, and the Ministry of Government Relations. Funding available. So essentially up to 75%, and this is an important part, of the project's eligible costs to the specified maximum in each stream, and I'll get to that in a minute here. As TS funds are available is what's available to recipients of the grant. Grant recipients, including their project partners, are therefore expected to contribute at least 25% of the project's costs. TSS funding streams. So as you can see, and this is, by the way, available on the application guide, which is available to everybody in a web format. I'll show you how to gain access to this afterwards. So if you don't get a good glimpse of this at this current time, I'll show you how to find it. So there's 4 funding streams. Stream 1 is dispute resolution and relationship building. The goal here is to foster improved relationships between communities and create a cooperative spirit. Of course, an outcome is related to that goal, that the project resolve issues and or build relations to support communities working together on joint initiatives such as capacity building and regional planning. So the maximum available funding in this stream is $15,000. And that's taken into consideration that 75% of eligible expenses. And examples of projects within this funding stream include mediation, facilitation, engagement, and MOUs. In the second stream, we have capacity building, and the goal here is to enhance capacity in communities for overall administration, governance, and understanding. An outcome, projects increase and or strengthen the capacity of municipal leaders, administration, and partners, or strengthen the municipality's understanding of their capacity needs. The maximum funding amount in this funding stream is $25,000. Examples of projects could be governance training, administration or governance capacity building workshops, inter-community administrative training, efficiency seminars, training manuals that advance governance and administration. Our third funding stream is regional cooperation. The goal here is to support communities working together to create joint or sharing of resources between communities. And the outcome, the intended outcome, is to for the projects to promote cooperative and regional initiatives between 2 or more communities, which strengthen municipal governance and or administration capacity. The maximum amount allotted in this stream is $75,000. Examples here of projects include new district official community plans and zoning bylaws, feasibility studies for regional cooperation, joint emergency management plans, joint growth management plans, engagement strategy for regional cooperation, joint strategic planning, and regional cost recovery studies. And finally, our last funding stream is municipal transition. The goal here is for communities to adapt to change and support them in transitions that lead to overall better service delivery and governance. The outcome here is for projects to support the restructuring and transition of municipalities to achieve greater sustainability, capitalize on economies of scale, and realize all opportunities within that. The maximum available funding in this funding stream is $100,000. Examples of this include feasibility studies for municipal districts, asset study towards establishing municipal districts, restructuring agreement studies, exploring feasibility studies of boundary alteration, and joint municipal transition plans. So how are you eligible for the TSS grant first and foremost? So applicants must be a municipal government, of course, established by or under a provincial statute. The municipal applicant must partner with at least one other community, although the more the merrier. Community partners can include other municipalities, First Nations, district planning commissions, organized hamlets, parks, etc. And finally, municipal applicant, along with its community partners, must have the support and or authorization of their council or governing body before applying for the grant. What are some ineligible types of projects? And we get this question quite often. So ineligible types of projects include, but are not limited to, economic development projects, tourism development projects, infrastructure projects, capital projects, and projects that are normal municipal operations, and they do not purposefully advance the TSS initiative's objectives. So the TSS grant to date, over $1.9 million have been approved for TSS projects over 2 grant intakes. And we've had over 215 municipalities, communities, and organizations participate in this. Some examples of previously approved projects include training to enhance the governance skills of municipal officials, developing regional emergency plans, completing a joint parks and recreation plan, coordinating asset management, harmonizing OCPs and zoning bylaws, producing intermunicipal development agreements, commissioning feasibility studies for joint administration facilities, and financial assistance for the creation of a municipal district. So we are currently in an intake. The intake opened on November 1st, 2021, and it will close on February 1st, 2022 at 5 p.m. So we have less than a month to go here. How can you apply? So of course, on Saskatchewan.ca, if you type in targeted sector support, there is a web page dedicated to TSS. Lots of helpful information there. So that is one source. And then of course, the municipal associations, the 3 following bullets, SUMA, SARM, and New North all have them on their respective websites. And they'll also, that arrow at the bottom points to the application guide, which is available on the, not on Saskatchewan.ca, I will say, but it is available in web format, like I said earlier, on the Municipal Association's website. So a very important document that I invite everyone to consult. And actually, I'm going to switch screens here, and I'm going to flip to the application guide really quickly. I'm not, obviously, it's quite lengthy, but I'm going to show you a little bit about what it looks like, so you get an idea. And stop share. Okay, so here's what it looks like here. Our introductory page, TSS Initiative. And this, if you have accessed this before, it does change every year. It does undergo some revisions every year. So I encourage you to download or access the latest version here. So the contents. So as you can see, pages 1 through 8, there's quite a lot of content. And of course, what is the TSS Initiative? How can you be eligible for the grant? So some details there. We're talking about the application intake in section C. Project funding. So if you have questions about project funding, here it is all there. Here's that chart on page 3 that I had mentioned earlier. If you're curious about the council/administration support, there's a section that talks about it here. Here's an awesome step-by-step guide to filling out the application. The way to fill out the application is online, and we're using a survey software called Alchemer. However, if you want to see what it looks like beforehand, the application guide is probably your best bet. So here it is. There's detailed instructions for part 1 of the application, moving on to part 2 for project information. So lots of detail there. Part 3, project costs and implementation. Part 4, council administration support. And then your last part 5, attestation and authorization. You can review your application responses finally, and then the thank you page. So this is a pretty useful guide, I'd say, to help you through that. Section G here is pretty good to see what the steps are once you've submitted your application and how they're screened and assessed, and then finally how you are going to be notified. Section H here talks about the reporting format. So towards the end of your project, of course, you'll be submitting a project report summarizing everything. So here's a little blurb about that. Section I talks about the funding agreement itself. J, application status. And then finally, just some contact information. So that is what the application guide looks like. And once again, I strongly encourage you to access this if you can. Switch back to my PowerPoint. So some common application mistakes that I found so far over 2 grant intakes. So diligently following the application guide should help in avoiding these shortcomings. However, here's some minor little warnings here. If there's too little detail in your application, of course, that leaves a lot to be desired, and we're sort of making assumptions here. The TSS steering committee, I should say, in reviewing the application. So too little detail is, of course, should be corrected there. Too much detail, too little, too much. And so too much detail, of course, is quite difficult to sift through all that information. So we ask for you to be concise and straightforward and straight to the point when filling out the application. If you're applying under the improper funding stream, so I encourage you to go back to that table there and review all 4 funding streams to make sure that you are applying under the correct funding stream. I understand that there is more funding available depending on which funding stream you're selecting. However, oftentimes we find that it could be in the incorrect column there, so please select that accordingly. Not explicitly linking your project objectives with TSS outcomes. So that's an important one because the whole point is to link these back to what TSS's intent is. So of course, you'd have your project objectives in mind beforehand. So just make sure that there is some relation there. Not clearly articulating how you intend to measure the project's outcomes in relation to those of TSS. So of course, as you're applying, we're asking you to fill that out. But when it comes time to filling out that project report on the back end, once you've finished it, there will be a question about that. So if you don't have a plan in the beginning, it'll be sort of difficult in the end to fill out that criteria. And then lastly, your project cost estimates are unrealistic. Now, we're not saying that you have to have a definitive or exact amount, exact quote for the project itself, but if you have done a little bit of research beforehand, that will go a long way in the application assessment process. Reminder here, please keep in mind that approval of the cost shared grant depends considerably on the applicant's ability to complete the application as comprehensively and accurately as possible. Here's some contact information. So that email address is info@targetedsector.ca. Or if you would like to speak to someone on the phone, we have Paul Ladusar, the TSS coordinator, and he can be reached at that number there, 306-525-4321. I'll give you a moment to jot those down. Okay, I will move on. So thank you. The TSS Steering Committee thanks you for your interest in the TSS initiative. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and I will introduce you to Paul Ladusar. Like I mentioned before, he is the TSS coordinator, newly appointed to this role. However, is learning it all really quickly and is actually probably the best person to be in this role so far. So Paul, without further ado. Paul, I think you're sitting on mute there still, sorry.
There we go. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for the introduction. I'm really pleased to be part of this program. And you know, if you look at the most simplified idea when it comes to TSS, is I see it as municipalities working together. And as Patrick said, you know, the grant process, I've certainly applied personally for many grants, government and otherwise, in the past. And you know, some people get discouraged sometimes because of the length or complexity of the application process and whatnot. And I can tell you that the process for this grant application is quite simplified. I've received several calls from people asking about whether or not they felt that their project would qualify. And the best advice I can give is, if you think you have a project that may qualify, submit the application. It doesn't take long, and then it can be reviewed. Certainly, I am available anytime to discuss the application process and answer any questions. And I encourage people and municipalities to use the program. I think this program's in its infancy. And is sure to grow if it's proven worthwhile and useful to municipalities. So certainly we're here today to promote the program and encourage people to use it. I'm fairly new, but certainly Patrick's been a huge help to me and has assisted me greatly in jumping into the role. So I look forward to working with all the municipalities in the province and making this program a success. And at the end of the day, we want to be able to provide the funds to municipalities. It's there to be used. So we're encouraging municipalities to give it serious consideration. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Valerie Fendelet. Valerie has seen firsthand the benefits of the program and working together with other municipalities and communities to reap the benefits of the program. So Valerie, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Paul. Much appreciated. Just give me one moment to get myself set up here. So yes, I'm from the RM of Great Bend. We applied in 2020 under Stream 2 for capacity building. And so we did training on governance and administration. We partnered with 10 rural municipalities. As you can see on the screen, the number of us that were together. So it was Mayfield 406, Blaine Lake 434, Redberry 435, Douglas 436, Leask 464, Meeting Lake 466, Spiritwood 496, Medstead 497, and the RM of Parkdale 498. So to give you an idea of our physical locations. On a side note on that, these 10 municipalities, we have formed an ad hoc administrators knowledge sharing group. We try to meet on a quarterly basis. The RM of Meeting Lake is central, physically central for all of us. We don't always get to meet all together, but we do try to meet on a quarterly basis when allowable. And during the past year and a half with the COVID restrictions, we've met through Zoom meetings. With that aside, we have had this going for a couple of years already. And so when the TSS initiative came along, we thought that that was a great opportunity to further our intermunicipal relations and our cooperations. So we decided to put forth an application for training, and our group received training through Southeast College on the Municipal Essentials certificate program. And we for governance training, we asked facilitator John Gormley to give us a presentation on governance and labor law, and it was extremely beneficial for administrators and council that participated. And some of the other training that we had on the side was also to enhance our occupational health and safety knowledge. The benefits that we received through this was the knowledge of and understanding of governance in relations to the labor law. And we also received our certificates through the Southeast College for the Municipal Essentials program. And like I said, it strengthened our intermunicipal relationships. And going forward, when we were determining what we wanted to apply for and worked as a group, we discussed what the objectives, we determined the objectives and what we wanted to achieve. And then we negotiated out their responsibilities for arranging our facilitators. So it was a group effort on our part with the 10 municipalities. And as the lead applicant, myself and another administrator, we became the coordinators for our group and kept the communication going throughout the project. Found the application form is straightforward, as Patrick reviewed with us, and found that it, we set out that our objectives were easily measured through for the program outcomes and through participant enrollment and their learning abilities. Found that the guide provides us with some great project ideas and suggestions and the sample resolution to take to our councils to pass the resolutions to participate in. As far as record keeping, as the lead applicant, after their 25, we have to put forward the 25% of the grant applications. So what we did in our group is we decided that we would bill up front for the 25% to have some seed money to pay for the facilitators and that, and then waited until the end of the group when we put in our final report, which was also straightforward to fill out the forms and submit that. Going forward, we continue to collaborate with as the 10 municipalities. So in 2021, our admin group, we made 2 separate applications, both under the regional cooperation stream 3 line. One application involved 4 municipalities, Great Bend 405, Meeting Lake 466, Medstead 467, and Round Hill at 467 and Medstead at 497, and we applied for $75,000 under that. And we also went with 5 applications and applying for $36,000 under the regional cooperation. Both those projects were, one was aggregate exploration and management strategy, and the other one was infrastructure management for gravel and road knowledge enhancement. So we're advocates. I'm a great advocate. I strongly believe in using these opportunities to advance our knowledge and our capacities and working together with our neighboring RMs. And going forward here in 2022, in the next couple of weeks, we will be putting forth another application involving all 10 RMs in this area. And I can't say enough about this program. It is an awesome opportunity to advance capacity building and any of the other suggestions in the funding streams. Thank you for your time. I'll turn it back over to Stephanie, I believe.
Thank you very much, Valerie, for sharing your experiences with the TSS initiative. It's great to hear that you're going to be partnering with so many communities to apply again for 2022. So this does bring us to the end of our presentations today. So we're going to move into our question and answer period. If you haven't already, take a look at the questions that are already in the chat feature, and let us know by clicking a thumbs up if there are any that you would like to also hear the answer to. And please feel free to submit some more questions. We do have a little bit of time to answer those. So the first question that I have here is I would like a yes or a no answer to whether or not the TSS would support engineering, planning, and design for a regional sports complex. It is a capital project, but this is in the planning phase that will bring regions together. I'm just wondering if Patrick or Paul would be able to answer that one for us.
Sure. Hi, thank you for that question there. This is a tough one to answer. We do get inquiries such as this one saying, will this be eligible or not? I can't give you a yes or no right now, unfortunately. I can give you a neutral answer, and that would be to fill out that application form to the best of your ability. And in the past, I know this is sort of it kind of gets in the area of capital infrastructure type projects. It's hard to say yes or no. There are some, like you do address there, it does bring regions together. So there is that regional cooperation aspect about it. I would just encourage you to think of the bottom line. Does it also improve governance and the capacity of those communities that involved? And if you think the answer to that is yes, then your best bet is to fill out that application form before the deadline here. And then at which point the steering committee will assess it to the best of their ability. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Patrick. The next question I have here is funding for new projects only, or can we apply for something that is already underway? For example, a regional fire safety plan.
Yeah, thank you for that question. You can definitely apply for projects that are already underway. One thing is that any costs that have been incurred before the time that the project was approved for the grant will not be eligible costs. So that's something to take into consideration. But there are definitely, there's other parts of that project that have yet to be taken on, and you think that they're eligible for TSS, then certainly I would encourage you to apply. And can you apply for more than one stream? So this is, I guess, two ways to answer this, is that if your project addresses more than one of those streams, then there is an area in the application for it to indicate, okay, the main stream under which I'm applying is regional cooperation. However, there is some capacity building and dispute resolution and relationship building components of that as well. So you would enter that in, and what that does is actually just enhances your application. But if the question is, can you apply for two different projects under two different streams? You cannot be the lead municipal applicant on two projects at the same time during the same intake. I would encourage you to reach out to another community partner of yours and get them to apply for that, and then you would become the community partner on that second one. So you could be the lead on one, but then a community partner on maybe a dozen others, if you will.
Thank you. So the next question is, we currently have established planning district that was established 10 years ago. It is in is the review of the regional plan an eligible project?
Again, I will answer that in the same way as that first question. I can't say yes or no definitively at this time. By the sounds of it, this sounds promising, but that is not a guarantee. I would encourage you to apply for this project. But as you saw in the regional cooperation examples of projects, this sort of sounds like the other ones. So it sounds promising.
Great, thank you. So that is it for the questions that we've received in the Q&A feature. I'm just going to give people another moment here to submit any questions. Here we go. So to qualify for the TSS, do we have to be in partnership?
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to partner with at least one other community.
So yeah, if anyone does have any other questions, please put them into the chat now. We still have a little bit of time to answer those. And if not, we'll begin wrapping up our webinar here today. So the next question that I have here is, in the presentation, there was discussion about a sample resolution. Where can this be found?
Yeah, the format actually changed since the first time you would have applied for this grant. What we're asking now in the application form is to, rather than provide us with letters from those council resolutions or letters of support, you would just indicate by checking a box to, or actually by putting in the number of the council resolution. That's sort of what we're looking for now, confirming that you do have the support of council for this grant application and this project.
Thank you. And we will be putting all the links that Patrick provided in the email that goes out with the recording of this webinar as well. So you should be able to access those with that through that email too. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today and to the audience for bringing so many great questions. We will be providing a recording of this session to all registrants within the next few days. Remember to keep an eye on the municipal update and member emails for future webinar opportunities. Our next webinar will be on January 25th at 10 o'clock a.m. on governance and leadership.